My brother let me fund his luxury engagement trip. Then he and my parents told me I wasn't invited. So I canceled everything and watched their plans collapse. Before Corey was born, I felt like the center of the universe. My name is Julian. I'm 23 years old now, but back then, I was just a little kid in Hendersonville, North Carolina. Our house was small, beige siding, creaky porch steps, one bathroom, but it felt like a castle when it was just me, Mom, and Dad. I remember nights curled up on the couch, watching cartoons with my dad, or sitting on the floor while Mom braided my hair with gentle fingers. Every drawing I made got hung up on the fridge. Every spelling test I aced earned me a high five. But that all changed when Corey came along. He was born on a rainy Tuesday when I was 6. I remember it so clearly because I had drawn this big, "Welcome Home Baby" poster with a smiling stick baby and sparkly stars. I waited at the window for hours, clutching my markers, thinking he'd like it. But when they walked in, Mom exhausted, Dad beaming, and Corey swaddled in a blue blanket, no one even noticed my poster. That's when the shift began. Slowly. At first, it was small stuff. No more bedtime stories because Mom was too tired. No more sitting on Dad's lap during TV because he was always holding the baby. They didn't mean to do it, I told myself. It was just a busy time. But busy turned into permanent. I started working harder in school, bringing home little art projects and math worksheets with stars on them. I'd hold them up like trophies. "That's great, honey," Mom would say without looking up from burping Corey. "Put it on the table, okay?" Meanwhile, Corey got real trophies, baby modeling, local dance shows. He was gifted at everything, according to them. Tap dance, singing, memorizing commercials. They bragged about him constantly. My wins were invisible. At family dinners, all the stories were about the latest cute thing Corey had done. I'd sit there eating mashed potatoes and trying not to disappear. I became the helper. I changed his diapers when Mom was too tired. I fetched bottles, found missing socks, vacuumed up Cheerios. If Corey spilled something, guess who cleaned it? Me. If Corey needed help with his Lego set, who sat on the floor and sorted bricks by color? Me. I don't think they even noticed how much I did. I was just so mature for my age. One time in 4th grade, my teacher, Mrs. Kellerman, pulled me aside and said I'd written the most thoughtful essay in class. She even gave me a little certificate and sent a note home. I waited until dinner to tell them. "I got recognized today," I said, grinning as I passed the note across the table. Mom read it. Dad skimmed it. Then they both smiled and nodded, like I'd handed them a grocery list. "That's nice," Dad said. "Corey, show us your new dance move." And just like that, my moment was gone. I remember sitting in the living room later that night, watching Corey perform some little hop twist thing while they clapped like seals. I looked down at the crumpled certificate in my hand and realized I could win a Nobel Prize and they'd still ask Corey to do a twirl. That was the first time I thought it, the quiet truth I never said out loud. I don't matter here. I was 13 when I got selected for the science retreat. It was this 3-day program for top middle school students, hosted at the regional university about 45 minutes from our town. Only 5 kids got picked from my school, and I was one of them. Mrs. Kellerman had pulled me aside after class, grinning like she'd won something herself. "They're inviting you, Julian. You'll get to work in real labs, tour the engineering department. It's a big deal." I still remember the way the brochure felt in my hand. Glossy. Important. Like something from another world. I shoved it into my backpack and practically sprinted home. I walked in the door buzzing. "Mom, Dad, you're not gonna believe this." They were in the kitchen. Corey was perched on the counter in his little chess uniform, khakis, button down, smug grin. He had a plate of apple slices in front of him, half eaten. I started waving the brochure like a flag. I got into a science retreat. At the university. It's for gifted students, real college labs, professors, everything. I expected excitement. A hug. Maybe even a "we're proud of you." But Mom just blinked. "When is it?" she asked. "Next weekend," I said, still grinning. "They have a van that picks us up from school on Friday." She was already shaking her head. "Oh, honey, that's the same weekend as Corey's regional chess tournament. Remember?" My grin faded. "Yeah, but they have a van. I'd be gone the whole weekend." Dad stepped in, wiping his hands on a dish towel. "We need you home that weekend, but Corey's tournament is in Asheville. We'll be driving, staying at a hotel. Your mom needs help packing, organizing his gear." "But this is a one-time thing," I said. "They only pick 5 kids. This might help me get into college later." "We know it's important," Mom interrupted, her voice already in that tone. "The final one. But Corey's tournament is a big opportunity, too. This could qualify him for nationals. He has a real future in this." My throat tightened. And I don't. They both stared at me like I'd said something in another language. Dad let out a breath through his nose. "Corey's counting on us. We can't split up this weekend. It wouldn't be fair to him." I wanted to scream. Instead, I just nodded and walked to my room. That weekend, While my classmates met scientists and experimented with liquid nitrogen, I stayed home packing coolers, making peanut butter sandwiches, printing Corey's chess strategies. I even laminated one of them because Mom said it looked more professional that way. The morning they left, I waved from the driveway, holding a clipboard. Corey didn't even look up. I spent the weekend alone. Quiet house, empty rooms. I watched Corey's tournament online, silent in the background, clapping when he won like it meant something to me. The retreat never happened again. Budget cuts, they said. I told myself it was fine, that I was being dramatic. But something cracked in me that weekend. Something I didn't fix. After that, I stopped rushing home with good news. I stopped bringing home test scores. I stopped trying. And I don't think they even noticed. Corey took up skateboarding the summer he turned 12. He got a custom board, elbow pads, the whole kit. I think he saw some kid at school doing tricks and decided he needed to master it overnight. Mom and Dad were thrilled. It's good he's trying new things, Dad said. He's such a natural at everything. It was a Saturday when it happened. I'd been at school that morning for a volunteer cleanup thing, extra credit, boring, but quiet. When I got home, the first thing I saw was Dad's car parked crooked in the driveway and the front door hanging half open. Inside, Mom was pacing the living room, phone in one hand and a bag of ice in the other. What happened? I asked, dropping my backpack. She didn't look up. He fell. At the skate park. They think his ankle's fractured. Your dad just took him to urgent care. Wait, what? How? She finally looked at me, her face flushed with anger, not panic, not fear. Anger. You were supposed to be there. I blinked. What? I was at school. You knew he was going to the park, she snapped. Why didn't you go with him? I wasn't even home, I said, still trying to process everything. He didn't tell me he needed a spotter or whatever. He's 12, she said, her voice sharp like glass. You're the older one. You should have been watching him. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Corey had friends. He had a phone. He went wherever he wanted all summer, and no one had ever said I was responsible for him. Until now. When they got home, Corey was in a cast, grinning like he'd won a prize. They said I might need crutches for a few weeks, he said, already scrolling through his phone. Cool, right? Mom helped him to the couch like he was royalty. Dad turned to me, arms crossed. You've got to be more aware, he said. I stood there, stunned. I wasn't even there. Well, maybe you should have been. That was the end of it. No discussion. No asking how my day went. No apology. Just another notch in my growing list of silent responsibilities. The next day, I was grounded for attitude, apparently. My phone was taken. No video games. No bike rides. I spent the weekend vacuuming, cleaning bathrooms, fetching Corey snacks while he barked orders from the couch like a little king. At one point, I walked past the mirror in the hallway and didn't even recognize my face. I looked tired. Older. Smaller. The only place I felt like a human being was at Ray and Marlene's. I'd started helping out at their auto shop after school a few months earlier, sweeping floors, wiping down counters, taking inventory. It wasn't glamorous, but it felt good. Honest. They paid me in sodas and greasy burgers at first, and then a little cash once I learned how to rotate tires. Ray called me Julian the Machine. Marlene always saved me a seat at the front counter. You got good instincts, kid, Ray said once, tossing me a wrench. You just need someone to let you use him. They didn't know about my home life, not really. But they didn't need to. They saw me. And most days, that was enough. The acceptance letter came in a thick envelope with shiny blue lettering across the top. North Carolina Institute of Technology. I opened it on the back steps of Ray and Marlene's shop, hands shaking, grease still on my fingertips. I must have read it 5 times before the words really landed. Congratulations, partial scholarship, engineering cohort. It felt like sunlight breaking through. I sprinted inside, waving the letter like it was the winning lottery ticket. I got in. I yelled, out of breath. Ray looked up from the hood of a Buick and smiled wide. No kidding? Hell yeah, kid. Marlene walked over, wiping her hands on her apron. We knew you would. What's the scholarship look like? I showed them the paper. Covers half. Maybe more, depending on need. I just have to send in the rest by July. They hugged me, real hugs, the kind that means something. I went home that night walking on air. At dinner, I waited until Dad put his fork down. So, I got into tech school, I said, sliding the letter across the table. Mom glanced at it without touching it. Corey didn't even look up from his phone. That's great, Dad said flatly. There's a scholarship, I continued, my voice already starting to dim. Covers about half. I just need help with the other part. I could work part-time, get a loan. Dad cut in. Hold on. How much is the other part? About $8,000 a year, I said. Maybe less with work-study. They both looked at each other. Not the excited kind of look. The calculating kind. That's a lot of money, Julian, Mom said finally. I know. I'll pay most of it. I need some help to start. Just the first semester. Dad shook his head. We're not in a position to take that on right now. Corey has tutoring, travel for nationals this fall. We're still paying off the van. Corey finally looked up. You should work at the warehouse with Greg. They're hiring full-time. Pays like $16 an hour. I stared at him. You mean quit school? You could do night classes or whatever, he shrugged. Be realistic. Be realistic. That's what they always said when they didn't want to care. I looked back down at the acceptance letter. The edges were already crumpled from my pocket. So that's it. I asked. You won't help me? Mom reached for the salt shaker. You've always been good with your hands. Maybe school's not the only path. I didn't say a word. I just got up, went in my room, and closed the door. The next day, I brought the letter to the shop. Ray took one look at my face and knew. They said no. I mumbled. He nodded slowly. How much you need? I blinked. What? To get started, he said. How much? I don't, Ray. I wasn't asking you. We're offering, Marlene cut in. She handed me a coffee mug with a faded NASCAR logo. Work part-time with us. Take weekends when you can. We'll cover the rest for now. You pay us back when you're a hotshot engineer. I felt something collapse in my chest. Not from sadness, from relief. Why? I asked. Ray shrugged. Because somebody saw something in you before the rest of the world did. I stood there holding the letter like it was sacred. That night, I filled out the housing deposit and hit send. For the first time in my life, someone bet on me. Not Corey. Not the golden boy. Me. And I wasn't going to let them down. College hit me like a punch in the face that first semester, the late-night coding labs, the professors who didn't care if you sank or swam, the cafeteria food that somehow always tasted like cardboard. But I kept my head down and worked. I wasn't the smartest guy in the room, but I was the one who stayed until the lights went off. I'd go to class during the day, then work evenings and weekends at Ray and Marlene's. They cleared out the back room of the shop and let me build a little computer nook, nothing fancy, just a desk, a dusty tower PC, and a second-hand label printer. That's where I created the first version of the shop's new inventory system. I still remember Ray's face when he tried it out. You telling me I don't have to keep scribbling part numbers on that stupid whiteboard anymore? Nope, I said, grinning. Just click and update. He sat back in his chair like I'd shown him how to teleport. Hot damn. Word got around. We picked up more clients, local shops that needed help organizing their systems. I wasn't just rotating tires anymore. I was managing tech installations, building service tracking tools, and automating billing for mechanics who'd never used a spreadsheet in their lives. Marlene called me the brain. They let me take over more and more. I hired a part-time guy to run the desk. I started managing our scheduling calendar, redesigned the website, and built a client review tool that shot straight to Google. Business doubled within a year. Meanwhile, back home, the silence was loud. The only time I heard from my parents was when they had something about Corey to brag about. Corey's launching a business idea, Mom texted once. Something with cryptocurrency and wellness retreats. Isn't that exciting? I never replied. Dad called once. Left a voicemail saying Corey had gotten some local news coverage. I deleted it before it finished. They didn't ask about school. Never once asked how I was doing, how the shop was growing, how I was managing bills and classes and 2 jobs. I don't even think they remembered what I was majoring in. And slowly, I realized I didn't care. I stopped waiting for recognition that was never coming. I stopped imagining them showing up at graduation. I stopped wondering if maybe one day they'd say they were proud. They wouldn't. They never would. But Ray and Marlene did. Every time I fixed something. Every time I figured out a problem no one else could solve. Every time I brought in a new client or added a new feature to the system. You're building something here, kid, Ray said once. And it's all yours. That was the first time I believed it. That I was more than someone else's helper. That I didn't need a family to see me. Not when I could build a life with people who already did. I was 2 years into college and managing the tech side of Ray and Marlene's shop like it was second nature. I still worked part-time, but my hours had more weight now. I oversaw ordering, invoicing, even customer feedback systems. We just landed a contract with a regional delivery company to service their whole fleet. That's when the call came. It was Mom. First time she'd called in over a year. Hey, Julian, she said, voice all shaky sugar. How's everything? I didn't answer right away. I was standing in the back office, the phone pressed to my ear, staring out the window at a half-strip truck in Bay 3. She cleared her throat. So, we've hit a bit of a rough patch. Here it comes, I thought. Your father and I invested in a few things. Real estate, mostly. A friend of Corey's had this startup idea, and we thought. Cut to it, Mom. She sighed. We're behind on a few payments. Just temporary, of course. But we could really use some help with basics. Groceries. The mortgage. Just until things settle. I leaned back in the chair and pinched the bridge of my nose. How much? I asked. Maybe $500 a month? Just for a little while. I didn't say yes. But I didn't say no either. We worked out a cap. I opened a new account, linked it to a prepaid card, and told her it would only cover necessities. Utilities, food, gas, nothing else. I monitored the statements every week. No restaurants. No random charges. The first month, things looked normal. By the second, Corey started complaining. Why is everything being tracked? He texted me one night. We're not children. I didn't respond. The third month, a charge popped up for executive car wash and detailing. I called. What's this? I asked. It was Corey's car, Mom said, defensive. He had a business pitch meeting. He needed to look professional. I paused. Do you know what I drove to my scholarship interview? I said. A 15-year-old Toyota with a cracked taillight. She tried to backpedal. It was just one charge, Julian. Not anymore, I said. Any luxury or non-essential gets the card shut down. You want to eat? You can use it. You want to shine Corey's tires? Use your own damn wallet. She went silent. From then on, I checked the account every 2 days. Adjusted the balance manually. Froze it if anything looked fishy. Corey hated it. Called it financial surveillance. But I didn't care. For once, I was in control. They needed me now. But I wasn't the kid cleaning up juice spills or skipping science retreats anymore. This time, I was the one setting terms. And if they didn't like them, they could figure it out themselves. Just like I had. It started with a photo. I was scrolling through Instagram after a 12-hour day midterms, 2 shift changes at the shop, and a broken server I'd been patching since lunch. I hadn't eaten, my back hurt, and I just wanted to zone out. Then I saw it. A boomerang clip of champagne glasses clinking. The caption read, "To forever #Dubai Dreams #Engaged Life." Corey's face was front and center, grinning like a celebrity. His fiancée, some girl I'd never even heard of, was flashing a rock the size of a grape. In the background, a white yacht shimmered against turquoise water. I blinked, confused. Dubai? More photos followed. 5-star hotel suites, gold-trimmed dinner plates, camel rides, infinity pools. And then it hit me. I recognized the charge descriptions. Every single hotel name. The private car service. The yacht rental. I pulled up the statements for the card I'd set up for necessities. They weren't even trying to hide it. It was all there, thousands of dollars in charges. Corey had used the card I was funding to pay for a destination engagement party I wasn't even invited to. No groceries. No mortgage payments. Just indulgence. I called Mom first. She didn't answer. So I texted, "Call me. Now." 10 minutes later, my phone rang. "Julian," she said, her voice tired and defensive before I even spoke. "I'm looking at a $5,000 yacht charge on the card," I said calmly. Too calmly. There was a pause. Then, Corey said he needed it for the proposal. It was a once-in-a-lifetime moment. "So were the groceries and rent I agreed to cover," I snapped. "It's not like we meant to deceive you," she tried. "We just thought you wouldn't understand." "You're right," I cut in. "I don't understand. You let him use my money to propose on a yacht in Dubai, and you didn't even tell me." "It wasn't about excluding you," she said quickly. "It just wasn't your kind of crowd." I went still. "What did you just say?" She hesitated. "You know what I mean, honey. You're not into that kind of lifestyle. Corey's friends are investors, entrepreneurs." "So I'm the help again," I said quietly. "The silent provider." She started to say something, but I hung up. Not 2 minutes later, Corey called. "You know, you're being really dramatic," he said the second I answered. "It's not like you couldn't afford it. You used my money," I said, lied about it, "and threw a party you didn't even invite me to." "It's not that deep, man," he said, laughing. "You're acting like this is some huge betrayal." "It is." "Oh, come on," he scoffed. "You're not exactly fun at parties. You would have just stood around judging everyone." I said nothing. He kept going. "Look, some people are builders. Providers. That's you. It's not a bad thing. You keep things running." I stared at the wall. I could feel the heat rise in my chest. "You think I'm just your wallet," I said. "No," he said casually. "I think you're practical. That's not a bad role to play." That was the moment it clicked. That they'd never seen me as anything more than background. Support. A means to their comfort. They didn't care that I was the one who worked until midnight. That I skipped vacations, turned down social invites, sacrificed everything, not just once, but over and over. They only cared that the money showed up. That night, I sat at my desk staring at the statement screen. My hands hovered over the keyboard. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I planned. The next morning, I woke up early. Earlier than usual, even for me. I didn't scroll my phone. Didn't check messages. I just sat down at my laptop and started shutting things down. First, the prepaid card I'd set up for their necessities. Canceled. Then the online accounts connected to it, utilities, grocery delivery, anything I'd linked over the past few months. Gone. Next, I called the cruise service they'd booked for Corey's engagement celebration dinner. I recognized the name from the card statements. They had a flexible cancellation policy for bookings made with corporate travel affiliations. Lucky for them, unlucky for Corey. Please confirm the cancellation of this reservation, I told the woman on the phone. And may I ask why you're canceling? Because it was charged to a card without authorization, I said. The account holder is no longer funding the event. There was a pause. Then typing. Understood, sir. I went down the list. Flights, hotel bookings, dining deposits, private tour packages. Each one got a call. Each one got cut. By the time I closed the last tab, I'd cleared out close to $10,000 worth of transactions. I didn't even feel angry. Just cold. Clear. The fallout started around noon. First a text from Corey. Bro, what the hell? Did you cancel the flights? Answer me. Then Mom called. I let it go to voicemail. Her message was pure panic, her voice high and shrill like she just realized the world was on fire. Julian, please, I need you to call me. This is a misunderstanding. Corey says the airline canceled everything. Did you do that? Why? Please call me. I didn't. An hour later, Corey posted on Instagram. Some people get jealous when others are happy. Just remember, no matter how they try to ruin your moment, the real ones shine through. Hashtag family drama, hashtag stay winning. It didn't take long before someone tagged me in the comments. That's when I decided to respond. I screenshotted the credit card statement, highlighted every transaction tied to Corey's engagement trip. Hotel names, yacht rental, luxury meals, all of it. I redacted the card number but left everything else untouched. Then I posted. For those wondering, Corey's celebration in Dubai was charged entirely to a card set up for our parents' groceries and utilities. I paid for it. Unknowingly. There was no invitation. No conversation. Just deception. So I shut it down. If you think that's jealousy, cool. I think it's boundaries. Within an hour, the post went viral in our town's circles. Screenshots were everywhere. DMs poured in former classmates, coworkers, even two of Corey's so-called investor buddies. Most said the same thing. I had no idea. This is disgusting. Good for you. By that evening, Corey's fiancé's parents had called off their share of the wedding fund. A mutual friend told me she was livid. If he lies to his own brother, what's he going to do to me in a few years? Another post from Corey followed. A long, vague paragraph about betrayal and haters in the family. But the damage was done. Screenshots don't lie. 2 days later, I heard they'd broken off the engagement. Corey tried texting me again. You went too far. This wasn't just about money. You ruined everything. I replied once. No, you did that. I just turned the lights on. He didn't respond. That night, I sat on the front step of my apartment with a soda in hand, watching traffic pass. No drama. No manipulation. Just peace. For the first time in years, I wasn't their fallback plan. I was the firewall. And it felt damn good. It was the third Sunday after everything blew up. I hadn't heard from anyone in over a week, not Corey, not my parents, not even one of those fake, passive-aggressive texts about how family can still work through things. The silence was refreshing. Quiet mornings. Full meals. I'd even started sleeping better. Then they showed up. I was in the kitchen, reheating leftovers, when I saw their car slow to a stop in front of my apartment. Same silver SUV they'd had for years. Still had the dent on the passenger side door I'd paid to fix once, back when I thought it mattered. My heart rate didn't even spike. Just steadied. They got out slowly. Mom first, holding a casserole dish like this was some sitcom reconciliation. Dad followed behind, hands in his coat pockets, eyes scanning the building like he wasn't sure what he was looking for. I didn't move from the window. They walked up to the door and knocked. Knocked like nothing had happened. Like the last few weeks hadn't exposed everything. Like they hadn't stolen from me, lied to me, humiliated me, and expected me to swallow it whole. I stood behind the blinds and watched them. They waited a long time. Mom knocked again, softer this time. Then I heard her voice through the door, muffled. Julian, please. We just want to talk. Just a minute, okay. She waited. Then added, we miss you. I didn't open the door. I didn't speak. I just stood there, arms crossed, watching them through the narrow slits in the blinds until they finally gave up. They looked at each other, defeated, and started walking back to the car. The casserole dish stayed on the welcome mat like some kind of peace offering. When they drove off, I waited 5 more minutes before opening the door. It was lasagna. Probably homemade. Still warm. I picked it up, walked it straight to the dumpster, and let the lid slam closed behind me. That night, I ordered takeout, Thai from the place near campus, and invited Tasha over. She was in my advanced systems class. Smart, sharp, funny. We'd worked on a group project once, and now we were friends, maybe more. She brought spring rolls and her laptop. You really roasted your brother, she said, scrolling through the screenshots still making the rounds online. I didn't roast him, I said, grinning. I just told the truth. We sat on the couch, legs tangled, passing containers back and forth, laughing at the comment threads. At one point she nudged my shoulder. You good? I thought about it. Really thought. I'm not mad, I said. Not sad either. Then what? Free. She smiled. And in that moment, no parents calling, no brother lying, no one expecting me to clean up the mess, I realized she was right. For the first time in my life, I felt it. Peace. It's strange how quiet success can feel. There's no confetti, no marching band, no big parade waiting at the finish line. Just small moments. Clean silence. A cup of coffee that stays warm because no one interrupted you. I'm 23 now. Lead systems engineer at a rising automation startup in Raleigh. I've got a 2-bedroom apartment with more outlets than I know what to do with, a reliable used car I paid for in full, and a balcony that catches the evening sun just right. This life didn't come easy. Nothing ever did. But I built it. Every brick. The day my final tuition payment cleared, I called Ray and Marlene. I didn't say much, just told them to meet me at Flanagan's Steakhouse, the one with the big booths and soft bread. When they walked in, I was already seated, menu in hand, grinning. What's all this? Marlene asked, I squinting suspiciously. Dinner, I said. On me. They laughed like they didn't believe it. But I meant it. We ate slow, told stories, talked about the shop's expansion, about a new fleet client in Durham. Ray made some crack about finally retiring and letting me run the place. I didn't say no. At the end of the meal, I pulled an envelope from my coat and slid it across the table. What's this? Ray asked. Everything I owed, I said. Plus interest. Plus thank you. They didn't open it right away. Just stared at me for a long time. You didn't have to do that, Marlene said softly. I know, I replied. But I wanted to. And I did. Not because I owed them, but because they were the first people who ever gazed to me without expecting something back. The ride home was quiet. I rolled the windows down and let the spring air hit my face. For once, there was no pressure. No guilt. No one waiting to drain me. Sometimes I still think about my parents. About Corey. I wonder if he ever paid off those engagement bills. If they ever figured out how to handle life without me propping them up. I don't check in. I don't answer their texts when they come in every few months. I left that version of myself behind, the son who needed their love, the brother who begged to be seen. That version is gone. The one that's here now knows better. I still miss the idea of what a real family could have been. I won't lie. Sometimes I watch coworkers talk about their parents visiting, or see friends posting baby pictures from Sunday dinners, and I feel that little tug. But I don't mourn it anymore. I don't chase it. Because what I have now, peace, pride, a future that belongs only to me, that's enough. Tonight, I'm sitting on my balcony, watching the sky turn that deep shade of gold right before it fades. There's a drink in my hand. My laptop's closed. I'm not working, not rushing, just breathing. And for the first time in my life, I know this one simple truth. I'm not invisible. Not anymore.